Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth day of the BMO Global Metals and Mining Conference. Continuing with our chat series today, we have first company presenting Perseus Mining. Perseus is a West African-focused gold producer, developer, and explorer. Company now operates three gold mines in West Africa: Edikan in Ghana, Sissingué in Côte d'Ivoire, and Yaouré in Côte d'Ivoire as well. Yaouré is its most recent production asset, pouring its first gold in December 2020. The company has set itself the goal of raising its annual gold production to more than 500,000 ounces per year by 2022. To speak to us today about Perseus, we have Managing Director and CEO Jeff Quartermaine. Jeff, thank you for joining us today and welcome.
Thank you very much indeed.
Let's talk about the way Perseus has managed its way through the COVID pandemic in 2020. It's emerged relatively unscathed, and in fact, you managed to complete a major construction job during this time. What did you do that generated such a positive outcome?
Well, I think, very early on in the piece, we recognized that there was a rising threat with COVID. We had operated in West Africa when the Ebola crisis was running in 2016. So we realized that these sorts of things could become very dangerous very quickly. So very early on in the piece, we responded with a very clearly articulated and strictly enforced protocols. We invested a lot of time and effort in educating our workforce around the dangers that were being faced, and we spent a lot of time communicating very freely with them as the situation unfolded. As you'd appreciate, nobody had a roadmap, so to speak, at that particular time. So we needed to be very alert, to communicate well, and be willing to adapt as things move forward. We also spent a lot of time and effort working with our host communities, particularly given that many of our workers actually lived in those communities, and we needed to make sure that they remain as healthy as possible within the constraints of their way of life. So that involved us donating hygiene materials, conducting disinfectant programs in high traffic areas, and educating people via the local radio stations, et cetera, et cetera. But I think if I had to characterize the reasons why we were successful, I'd put it into two words. One is flexibility and the other is resilience. And in this respect, I guess, we stuck at the task. We remained alert. We adapted as we needed to go. And I think that what was achieved during the course of 2020 is, to be able to escape relatively unscathed is a great credit to the men and women who make up our workforce, and indeed to their families who supported them very well by tolerating extremely long rosters, quarantining and things of that nature. So I think, we worked pretty hard during that time, but the results are there for themselves to be seen.
Thanks, Jeff. You achieved your target of pouring gold at Yaouré in mid-December, some 5 weeks earlier than scheduled. How's the ramp-up of operations progressing, and when do you expect to hit a production run rate equivalent to 500,000 ounces of gold per year at the company level?
Yeah, well, look, we poured our first gold on December 17, in fact, and that was about 5 weeks ahead of schedule, as you mentioned. And since then, we've been going through the process of commissioning and ramping up. And I have to say, it is actually going exceptionally well. I mean, we've had our share of, the usual sort of mechanical breakages and hiccups that come to light during commissioning of plants like this. So nothing particularly unusual. But to date, we've achieved all of the technical parameters that we've set out to achieve. So I'm referring to run times, throughput rates, head grades, recovery and gold production. All of those have been achieved at various stages. And now the challenge remains to achieve those targets day in, day out. In other words, to maintain very consistent, steady levels of performance. And we're very confident the way things are going that we should be able to demonstrate commercial production by either the end of March or failing that, then certainly the month after. But in any event, it is very close to us right now to get to that stage. And I think with that declaration of commercial production, I'm very, very confident that, the improving performance, particularly from Yaouré, is going to be very evident to all as we release our successive quarterly reports. So as March, June and September come through, it's going to be very, very obvious to the most casual observer that Perseus is well and truly on the track of transforming itself from being a single mine, single country exposure to a multi-mine, multi-jurisdictional mid-tier gold company that's producing around 500,000 ounces of gold per year at an all-in site cost at current gold prices generates a very large amount of free cash flow. So the commissioning is coming along extremely well, and we're very excited about what's ahead of us.
In 2020, you also acquired Exor Resources Limited with the aim of extending the life of the very profitable Sissingué operation. How are you progressing in proving that concept?
Well, that's coming along extremely well also. So just to put a little bit of context around that, so we have the Sissingué mine in northern Côte d'Ivoire. It's a relatively short life, low cost operation. Paid back its capital very early on in the piece, and has been making a very strong contribution to our business ever since. The issue with Sissingué was it was relatively short lived. However, with the acquisition of Exor, that is about to change. So, in summary, what's occurred is that we completed the scheme of arrangement in September last year, and immediately went on, mobilised to site and commenced drilling out the known deposits on the ground, the Exor ground. While doing that, we also took the opportunity to do geotechnical and metallurgical drilling to provide data that would need for feasibility study purposes. So each of these drill programs were completed by the end of December, and progressively assay results are being received from the laboratory and fed into our resource model. And at this stage of the game, we are expecting that during the June quarter, we will complete a JORC compliant resource and also produce an optimised mine plan for and a definitive feasibility study for not only a mining operation but a trucking operation that will cart the ore that we mine from Bagoé back to 60 to 70 kilometres back to the centralised processing facility at the Sissingué mine. So that work is going extremely well. It's a little bit early to be making any definitive statements on the exact size of the resource or reserve that we will be mining from Bagoé in the relatively near term. But I can say that the grades and the extent of the mineralisation that we've seen to date are very encouraging, and lead us to believe that not only was this an excellent acquisition in terms of creating value by Perseus, but also what it's done is it's given us confidence that we've actually acquired a significant mining precinct that is going to allow us to significantly extend the life of Sissingué over some period of time, well beyond the current 3-year life. It's my belief, based on the work that we've done to date, that this will be a situation where we have a multitude of relatively small pits that we'll be able to mine and to cart the material back to the processing facility that is in fact a proven facility and has already been paid for. So in terms of being able to achieve what we set out, which was to materially improve or extend the life of Sissingué, we are very close to proving that concept. As I say, a feasibility study will be published in the June quarter, and then following that we'll make applications for the various mining leases, etc., that are required to actually move into production in a couple of years' time.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. At the end of December 2020, Perseus had a strong balance sheet and is clearly generating a lot of cash, with a lot more to come once Yaouré hits its straps. What is next, and how do you maintain this production level that places you now firmly in the ranks of a mid-cap producer on a global scale?
Well, look, you're absolutely right about our financial position, the strength of our financial position, and more importantly about our current and future cash flow generating capacity going forward, particularly if gold prices remain anywhere near current levels. Just to put that in perspective, so at the end of December we had 118 million of cash on the balance sheet and 130 of debt. By the end of March, we'll be in a cash positive position. In 2020, we generated something like $150 million US dollars of cash flow from operations from the Edikan and Sissingué operations. But of course, adding on a third operation as we're doing now, those cash flow levels are going to increase dramatically as we go forward. Don't have to be too bright to figure out that in years to come we'll be generating somewhere in the order of $300 to $400 million of cash, net cash flow, depending on where the gold price is at the present time. So, aside from managing our balance sheet, reducing debt and also returning capital to shareholders via a dividend stream, what we will be doing is deploying a portion of that cash to extend the period when we are producing on this 500,000 ounces. And of course, should the opportunity arise, we'll be looking at not only replacing what we're mining, but also incrementally expanding the effort as well. Right now, we see that this growth will come from organic means rather than through inorganic or M&A methods. For the last 5 years, Perseus has been very heavily involved in a project development program. We've invested roughly $400 million in the development of 2 mines, Sissingué and Yaouré. There hasn't been an awful lot of free cash available for exploration. However, during that period of time, our exploration teams have done a very good job in identifying a string of highly prospective targets that are in close proximity to the existing infrastructure around each of those properties, and that's where we'll be focusing our attention in coming periods. So, we expect to be able to generate excellent results from those programs, and as I say, extend the mineral inventory, at each of the mines quite significantly, and keep at the very least that 500,000 ounce level going forward. Now, in saying this, we're not oblivious to opportunities to acquire and develop additional mineral resources that have been discovered by others, and we do keep a watching brief on a lot of other emerging opportunities, and when the stars align, so to speak, in terms of both potential economic returns from the property and I guess social issues, agreement on social issues, we wouldn't hesitate to create value, through M&A. And I would have to say that we do have something of a track record in this area. We took over Amara Mining PLC in 2016, and that delivered us the Yaouré property, which we've subsequently turned into an operating mine. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, more recently we acquired the Exor Resources, which was a small explorer in Côte d'Ivoire. And as a result of that work, we've been able to, or will be able to, demonstrate an extension of the Sissingué property. So, in terms of M&A, we're more than capable of executing those things. And as every day goes by, where we're not using our cash, putting it on the balance sheet, we're improving our ability to transact, when opportunities come along. So
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that so I guess it's taken a little bit of time, but we are well and truly on the path of delivering, proving the concept, and delivering all of the promises that we've made to our shareholders over the years.
Thank you, Jeff. That brings us to the end of this fireside chat, and thank you again for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you indeed.